Hi guys, and welcome to another Total Technik video. Today we're going to be looking at removing the steering wheel from the B6 or the B7 model, A4, S4 and RS4. The process for removing the actual steering wheel itself is the same between the B6 and the B7. So we're going to take a quick look at that now. So the first thing we need to do, obviously, is to remove the airbag from the centre of the steering wheel. If you're unsure how to do that, we have filmed a video for how to do that for both the B6 and the B7 models. What I'll do is I'll put links on this video, so if you go down to the information section below this video on YouTube, there'll be links there on how to remove the airbag. So if you're unsure of how to do that, go and check that video out, get that done, and then when you're at this stage, come back and we'll concentrate on getting the wheel itself removed. Okay, so having a quick look at what's required to remove this steering wheel. See in the centre we've got this rather large bolt, and inside that bolt you will see there's actually an M12, which is quite a large spline bit that's required to actually get this out. That's what fits in there. Okay, now not all sets of bits come with these as standard. These splines, most have Torx, most have hex. But not many kits come with these spline bits. However, you can get these bits in little sets on eBay very cheaply, so well worth taking a look at if you don't own them already. Maybe £5, $7 or $8, something like that will buy you a little cheap set of these spline bits. But you need an M12 to actually fit into there, so make sure you've got one of those, and we can move on. Okay, so I'm ready to start attacking the bolt in the centre of the steering wheel. I've got my M12 spline bit on here, and what I've done, I've actually ensured that I've got an extension bar that's long enough so that the actual handle of the wrench doesn't touch the steering wheel. It's not going to scuff the steering wheel as we try and undo it in this manner. If you use one that's too short, obviously you can rub on the leathery steering wheel, might end up causing your steering wheel damage. So make sure that this is long enough. And the only other thing that we need to do, as we're going to be putting pressure into the centre of the wheel, is to ensure that your steering wheel lock is on by removing the key. Okay, once you've done that, the steering wheel itself can't move away, and so we can actually put a bit of force onto this without the whole wheel turning at the same time. So let's get that removed. Okay, and one thing to note when you're removing this is they can be on fairly tight, so you may need a fairly long wrench to get this out. The reason that they're quite tight and they remain quite tight is usually from the factory they actually put like a nut lock onto the thread of the bolt, as you'll see hopefully, unless this one proves me wrong, when this comes out in just a few seconds. Now obviously when you come to reinstall this, it's a good idea if you've got it available to put some nut lock back on it. However, don't put too much on. It's surprising how little you need. Okay, now very important, once you've removed this bolt, do not go ahead and pull the steering wheel off. There's a couple of very important things that I'll cover in a second before you remove that. Okay, but let's get rid of that bolt. As you can see, hopefully on the bolt there, you can see a ring of blue. That's the nut lock that's factory fitted, as I mentioned before. What the nut lock does, essentially, it stops the fixing from ever kind of rattling free. It helps secure it. It's almost like a very light glue, if you like, that glues it in place, but it's not too strong, so when you put pressure on it, you can easily break that seal again. So that's the bolt removed. Like I said, do not at this stage actually remove the steering wheel. There's a couple of very important things we need to do beforehand. So let's take a look at those. So first thing we need to do, I've got this yellow plug that actually goes through the steering wheel, connects to the squib or the clock spring located behind the steering wheel. See, it's got a little compression tab on the top of it. So push that down, pull that plug out, and push that to one side. This yellow plug is actually going to come off with the steering wheel, but it does need to be disconnected, like I say, from the clock spring, which you can see just here. That's the plug that's in the clock spring that passes through the steering wheel. So you need to make sure that that's removed and put to one side. That's the first thing you need to do. Now, one thing to bear in mind before you actually remove the steering wheel itself, which I'm going to show you in just a second, okay, is the clock spring or the squib here that sits underneath your steering wheel. Now on some models of cars, thankfully generally not Audis, but on some models of cars, when you remove the steering wheel, the clock spring is free to move and the whole thing will spring round and it will all go out of sync, and then you've got to try and manually wind it again. Now you don't have to worry about that, so don't panic on anything to do with the clock spring, because thankfully on the Audi they've actually got you. I can show you just here. I'm going to hold the clock spring in situ. So the clock spring can't move out of the position it is at the moment. You've actually got this little spring lock here. Now that allows you to move it fully, but we're not going to do that. So basically, as soon as you pull the steering wheel off, which you're going to do in just a second, it will lock that because this will spring out, and so you do not have to worry about your clock spring going out of alignment, which is very, very handy. Nice little design from Audi, which all manufacturers did this. Unfortunately, not all of them do. So that's a nice little thing. But don't panic on the clock spring. That won't affect the removal of the steering wheel. Now, the second thing you need to do before you actually remove this wheel from the column, very, very important, is as you can, well, hopefully you can see this on the video, the teeth that are around this kind of circle that are actually on the column here, very, very fine. So it's very easy if you just get it kind of one or two teeth off, your steering wheel will be off center. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to mark this before you remove it, so when you come to put the wheel back on, you can make sure that you get it exactly straight, because you know you've got such small tolerance between the notches in this that it's very, very easy to get it wrong. Now, if you look very, very clearly in the center on your steering wheel, you actually see there's a little indentation. Hopefully, you can see that at the end of the screwdriver there, just there. Okay, that's a factory mark. Okay, so your steering wheel will have that. Now, that is the dead center of the steering wheel itself. Okay, so what we need to do is we're going to put a little mark onto the end of the column here, just on here, that will allow us to realign these when you come to put the steering wheel back on. Very, very important that you do this before you remove the steering wheel. What you want to do, ensure that's clean. You want to get a very, very fine, if you can, fine tip permanent marker. I'm just going to lean in. I just want to make sure I get this 100% in line. So I do apologise if I block your view for a second. So what I've done there is I've put a small line that's directly in line with the mark that illustrates the dead centre of the steering wheel. So now I can safely remove this. So all you do is you pull it forward, and that is your steering wheel completely removed from the car. And like I say, the importance of that mark is when you come to fit this back up, that will allow you to ensure that you get it exactly as it was before you removed it. So it's really, really important that you put that little mark on it. As soon as you've done that, you've removed this plug, just remove the whole thing gently from the car, and that is your steering wheel removed.